Now, your first warned weather forecast from meteorologist Jordan Wolfe.
Even though snow has come to an end as of yesterday, the impacts of that winter storm are still lasting over the next day or so. We actually saw a little bit of sunshine trying to peek through, and that definitely looked nice when you looked outside, but it did not feel nice. The temperatures remaining below zero throughout the entire afternoon. The rest of those snow showers continuing to move across the Great Lakes, and we could see a couple of these wrap around on the back end, but they're not going to impact us very much as far as the amount of snow that could fall from those. But we're still dealing with a lot of the winds because of the strengthening low pressure system and a very strong high pressure up across the upper plains. Now, the difference between those pressures is what brings us all of that wind, and that blowing and drifting is why we're still under that winter storm warning for all of northern Illinois that lasts all the way through into early tomorrow morning. And then the winter weather advisory across southern Wisconsin that still lasts until around that time as well. Visibilities are still dropping across the area despite no snow falling. We're actually under a mile of visibility in Rochelle, Sterling, Savannah, and in Galena, and the rest of our area is still under around 2 or 3 miles in many spots because of that blowing and that drifting, especially out in many of those open areas, including where these airports are located, which is where we get a lot of those readings from. That's why we're seeing a lot of those drops in visibility. So if you're driving in city roads, you're not going to see a whole lot of that drops in visibility or a lot of that blowing and drifting, but definitely when you get further out into the country, that's where you're going to be seeing a lot more of those impacts. Winds are also beginning to ramp up. Some of our wind speeds up close to 30 miles per hour in some spots, and those wind gusts also picking up. We had a peak wind gust close to 50 miles an hour at the Rockford airport. Right now, their wind gust is still reading 37 miles per hour, with a lot of our areas also pretty close to that 40 mile per hour mark. We take a look at what we're seeing here across the state line. This is kind of the picture that you look at when you get out toward an airport. You're going to see a lot of this blowing snow across a lot of those roadways and those drops in visibility that you can see out in the distance. This is the Poplar Grove Airport. We're going to take a look at a couple other airports there as well. This is out in Rochelle. You can tell that wind is really ramping up as we see that camera shaking, and there's a lot of those drops in visibility still out across the distance there. One last camera here, we're looking at downtown Rockford. Those winds not really as strong, at least the camera not shaking a whole lot, but notice those roads are a lot better condition because those are in the buildings, in between buildings, where it's blocking a lot of that wind. The more out into the open, the more out in the country that you're going to get, that's where you're going to be seeing a lot more of those impacts from a lot of those winds. And that's why we're still seeing some of those snow-covered roads showing up there. Some improvements here, at least in Winnebago and Boone County, but still mostly or completely covered roads across the entire rest of the state line. So temperatures are still well below zero, and that's still bringing those wind chills below zero even further. -2, the current temperature feels like 27 below. Feels like 30 below when you get out toward Galena. Those impacts of those wind chills still lasting quite a bit longer into the evening tonight. We're still going to hold on to below zero, even 20 below zero wind chills all the way through into tomorrow afternoon before we finally start seeing some of those improvements coming late into the day tomorrow, even into Sunday. Wind gusts also remaining a huge factor out there. We're still seeing wind gusts close to 40 miles per hour. Those will not drop back down until we get in the next couple of days either. At least for the moment, we're looking fairly clear, but we do have another chance of snow to talk about coming up here in the next couple of days with a very weak clipper system that could be passing. That could also bring us some additional snowfall, but still a couple of days out from that. Christmas Day still looks very cold, 10 degrees for the high temperature there. But Eric, if we're looking forward, look at those temperatures toward the end of the 7-day forecast, all the way up into the 40s by Thursday and into Friday.
You tacked another 40-degree day on that 7-day. That's looking good. Hopefully that trend continues. Jordan, thanks.